David Abrams is an entrepreneur with demonstrated success at creating, leading, and growing a successful marketing and communications agency. His passion for commercial real estate stems from extensive industry experience working with building operators to connect with their tenants. David is most proud of his track record at building relationships with both colleagues and clients to find common purpose and deliver results. He is currently co-founder and CEO of HILO Tenant Experience Network, a SaaS platform that powers building operators to attract tenants, boost revenues, and streamline operations by creating connected, engaged, and informed building communities. So let's start with this question, David. What is the most groundbreaking advancement in the PropTech industry, in your opinion, at any point in history?
Well, a good question to start with. I'm not sure I'll have the most incredible answer for you, but I will say it is still early days. The disruption is really only just beginning. Every major news source will continue to push out to the marketplace that there is still so much more to come. Despite the fact that there have been thousands of PropTech solutions emerging, billions of dollars being invested, we are still at just the very beginning. And I think that we're going to see some incredible new uses of technology emerge, but I don't know that I can pick one just yet. And I think that we've got some very exciting times ahead. And I think COVID, as I'm sure we'll talk about, has certainly accelerated the way in which commercial real estate is looking at technology. So I think we'll check in again, maybe in 6 months or 12 months, and maybe ask that question again.
All right. Another exploratory type question. Where'd you grow up, and what do you think you were going to be when you grew up?
Grew up in Toronto, North Toronto, and then spent most of my sort of teenage life and adult life in Thornhill. Actually, a pre-COVID decision, decided to move into the city. So not probably the best decision at the time, certainly a difficult thing to do, sell a home and move during COVID, but we did, and I'm now living in Leaside and loving it. Began my career in financial accounting and actually used that opportunity to really snoop, as I like to say. Had an opportunity to really delve into other businesses, understand how they operate, learned a ton, and saw really a lot that would help me to determine sort of what my trajectory might look like in the future. So I would recommend to anyone who's thinking about, becoming an entrepreneur or starting a business, that financial accounting background really opens up a lot of doorways, and certainly adds to your own bench strength in terms of everything that's involved in starting a business. I ultimately joined a small marketing and communications agency about 4 years into my accounting career, and really just had intended to join that company and help position them for sale. And some 25 years later, I was still there. And that is really where I had my first taste of commercial real estate. We discovered a niche, pitched our first commercial real estate building, and then went on to provide tailored marketing services for the commercial real estate industry for over 25 years, and really developed a unique perspective and insight into the industry.
So you were in marketing and communications. You started to understand the mindset of the clients. Was there a pivotal moment that you can remember where you decided that there's a solution out there for these people and you're going to create it?
Well, that would really be a huge fast forward. In 2013, the world was beginning to change within commercial real estate, primarily from a communications perspective. And we found that buildings were generally more interested in the LEED certification program. So going more green, going more sustainable. The tenants within buildings were also equally as green conscious. And so our major form of communication at the time was, believe it or not, was print. We had an amazing distribution system. We would print brochures and newsletters, gift guides, postcards, and we would use the nighttime cleaning crew to desk drop that communication message throughout the building. And literally that way of connecting and communicating literally stopped overnight. And around that same time, as I began to realize what was happening, I started to explore, well, what might a solution look like? And I wrote a strategy document at that time for a communication, engagement, and loyalty platform delivered through your smartphone. Everybody at the time was walking around with either a BlackBerry or an iPhone, heads down, focused on that little screen. And I thought, well, if they're as connected as they are to their device, perhaps there's an opportunity for buildings to be more connected to them through a platform ultimately delivered through their smartphone. So I like to say that HILO was built from the inside out, or at least the idea of it. It took us some time to really continue to flush out the idea, but it was certainly influenced by all those years working within commercial real estate.
So that's sort of opened your eyes to the need. So how was HILO actually born, and what value solution does it bring to customers?
Well, I continued to, first of all, pitch the idea, and I'll just mention that of course I was an entrepreneur, running a marketing communications agency, but certainly had never run a startup or a technology company, and really had no idea what that looked like. Wasn't aware of what startups really meant, technology, didn't understand SaaS, software as a service. Hadn't heard of really Silicon Valley from the perspective of my own day-to-day involvement. Didn't know about venture capital, accelerator programs. So I really had to go back and create, a startup 101 program for myself, which was probably one of the most exciting things I've ever done in my career. And to that end, I kept pitching the idea of HILO to other real estate professionals. And really, I was waiting for someone to tell me it was a really bad idea and move on or go back to the communications company that I'd been running successfully for so many years. And focus my attention there. But nobody did. Nobody told me it was a terrible idea. So we kept at it. I eventually found two co-founders, actually, one on the technology side and one on the creative and branding side to partner with me. We went out to market and raised a pre-seed round of investment to help us build what ultimately was first launched. We built it throughout 2018. Did a deep dive back into the market and really spoke again to customers and users, as well as owners and property managers of commercial real estate to ensure that what I thought we should build was right. So went through another validation process. Ended up launching the end of 2018 through 2019, 11 buildings, 3 neighborhoods, 2 cities, Toronto and Ottawa, nearly 2 million square feet and over 2,500 users in a very short period of time. It was very exciting. And we really focused on the tenant. And while we saw the space beginning to take root in terms of the notion of tenant experience, our focus was not just providing a solution for building operators and building managers, but also to be really in tune with what the customer wanted, what they needed, and really built a platform that ultimately would resonate with the hearts and minds of consumers.
So I'm going to ask a question. So I'm assuming most of your clients are commercial type tenants, yeah?
Yes, so yeah, office and residential.
Oh, so you do residential?
We do as well.
Yeah, we're starting to see a significant trend of those who were once building the commercial space moving towards purpose-built rental. And how do you see that? How do you see your solution working there?
Well, I think the notion of work, live, play was born pre-COVID, but I think we're going to continue to see that take all kinds of different shapes going forward. I think we're going to see residential look a little more like where you worked. I think we're going to see office look a little more like where you lived. And the play will be at both and in between. So I think that there's going to be a lot of changes evolving as commercial real estate operators respond to what we're currently living through. And I think that it is going to need new solutions in order to meet the demands, in order to respond to what the customer needs and wants. It's a very exciting time.
Are you going to be rolling it out in Canada only, or is this going to be an international product?
Yeah, so we're currently focused on North America. As I say, we initially launched in Toronto and Ottawa. We continue to market in Canada. I will tell you that Canada does live up to its reputation of still being a conservative country. And it's a relatively conservative industry. Commercial real estate is, one of the largest asset classes in the world, but it is still conservative in nature. And combine that with Canada, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. So we are getting uptake. I think the conversations are continuing to ramp up and evolve. But we're certainly gaining far more traction and interest and activity south of the border. We're excited about that. We think there's going to be a lot of opportunity, and ultimately we see our solution as a global solution, because we're not selling building apps, because we are creating a network, and not unlike Airbnb or Uber. If you want to connect to a short-term rental, you'll go on Airbnb. If you want to connect to a driver, you'll go on Uber. If you want to be connected to your built community, we want you to go onto HILO. So, certainly our focus is North America out of the gate, but the potential is much wider.
Okay. So you're still expanding your product to meet let's say, the unrecognized needs of your clients.
Absolutely. The beautiful thing about technology is it's never finished. And so we've got a product roadmap that, stretches on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis. And we're very focused again on not just adding features for the sake of features. Traditional software, when launched, does not try to do everything out of the gate. It tries to do one or two things really, really well, penetrate that market, create adoption, create engagement, and then over time, introduce new ways in which you can surprise and delight your customer. And that is ultimately our viewpoint. And so there are many things that our solution can do and many things that it could do, but we're very careful and cautious to ensure that what we're bringing to market is going to resonate right out of the gate and is going to solve a problem and actually improve the lives of both our building operators and their tenants.
So what key insights or benefits have you or your customers gained from implementing this technology? Any standouts come to mind? In your recent moments.
I think the key is really the focus on the tenant, and not just building software, for the sake of software. What we've also done, we did this pre-COVID, and we look forward to doing it again as buildings repopulate, is we would host a tenant experience workshop where we would actually bring our users, the tenants, together with building operators and owners and our team to really talk to them about the problem that they are facing, the problems that they're looking for solutions for, and how we can make their workday or where they live easier and better. So I think, from an insight perspective, when we first launched this program, it was interesting to find out that one of the areas of service delivery for our program is notifications, communication, providing tenants, residents with information that they need most and when they need it. And believe it or not, that was one of the most sought after and most utilized areas of our platform. And we were surprised that they in fact told us that they valued that most. Not that we didn't think it was important, but we didn't know if they would think it is as important as we did. They also, in terms of what they chose or what they articulated they would like to see, is more ability to connect with each other. So really building out our notion of community. So again, whereas HILO is not just a building app, but a network solution, our vision was always to treat buildings not as silos, but as part of a neighborhood and part of a city. And they really did embrace the notion of being able to connect with each other, share job and business opportunities, have social connection, create interest groups, really find ways in which to bring them together. And I think certainly all of us living through COVID have certainly recognized how important community is. And I think that's going to continue to be a dominant theme within the tenant experience space and within commercial real estate going forward.
Fascinating. How do you handle innovation?
From the perspective of the roadmap, or what do you mean in particular?
Well, you can look at it in many ways. Do you have a proactive strategy for innovation? You have a roadmap you're following on, you're going along trying to improve your product, but then a great idea comes from a client. Does that interrupt your process? How do you listen to those ideas?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, innovation for the sake of innovation is not really what it's all about. So while we are internally on a daily basis thinking about where our product needs to go, again, we are very in tune with the needs of the commercial real estate industry and the customer. And so you're absolutely right. As we engage with new customers, one of the things that we share with them, and it's certainly in the process of bringing them on board, is that we are going to continue to respond to their needs as well. And if it means taking a left turn on our own internal product roadmap to meet their needs, then that's going to be the action that we take. We are also very focused on, again, not necessarily building everything internally, but also tapping into this very rich and robust PropTech community. So we see HILO as being the gateway, the connector between building operator and their customer, their tenant. We don't necessarily envision HILO building out every possible PropTech solution that a building operator might need. And so we really are collaborating not only with our building operator partners, but also with other PropTech solutions, and embedding their technology and making it available through our platform. What we don't think is an optimal solution is that any building has 5 apps and 4 portals and 3 websites, and they tell their customers, to use all of those in the course of their day. So we're really looking at HILO, not unlike Shopify in terms of what it's done for the retail commerce industry, where they've allowed developers to build other technology solutions that are available on their platform. We're taking a similar approach where we see other PropTech service providers being able to offer their solutions, and building operators literally being able to go into our back end and select what solutions, what offerings they need in order to deliver on the outcomes that they want for their building community.
Has COVID-19 changed or recalibrated HILO's digital approach?
Well, it certainly did from a sales perspective. So again, we launched through 2019. The wind was in our sails coming into 2020. We had a lot of meetings, a lot of presentations, a lot of proposals, and a lot of agreements waiting for signature. And then, of course, March 13th, literally over 48 hours, as commercial real estate went dark, our entire funnel of new business went dark as well. So, we really had to take some time and reflect on, what did that mean? Did that strengthen our use case? We do believe it has. We do believe that the need for connected communities throughout commercial real estate has only become that much more important. But it did take, many months until the conversations began again. So, in April and May, we thought we'd be back to work in July. In July, we were hoping for the fall. And I think in the fall, we now recognized that, 2021 would hopefully be a year in which we began to see building reentry and repopulation, but we knew that it was going to take quite some time. So I am pleased that we were able to sign some new contracts coming out of 2020. The conversations are happening in a more meaningful way now in early 2021. Certainly communication has become an imperative. It was always part of our platform, but we now recognize that people are going to be working from everywhere for a very long period of time. And putting a poster up in the lobby or a digital screen in your elevator is not going to cut it, because a large number of your audience are just simply not there. So having a solution such as HILO that enables you to connect in real time anywhere, is going to be critical. So, we think definitely those conversations are going to continue well into the future.
What about your customers? Have you noticed any changes or trends in the adoption of technology since COVID?
Just again, a greater eagerness to have that conversation. I think many are really looking at, what does it mean for them? Is technology a fad, or is it really going to help, move their business? Certainly conversations often go down the path of, is this going to make more work for our limited resource teams? How does it help them? So a lot of conversation around efficiency, a lot of conversation around how we don't just simply license our software, but we actually support your team. We're very collaborative. We help not only in the onboarding process in terms of bringing your building onto our platform, but we help with the ongoing activation in your building, within your community. I think that technology solutions that just try to sell themselves in and the building operator, has to run with it 100% independent, I think they're going to struggle. I think solutions that recognize that it is a partnership, it is a collaboration, I think are going to fare well.
So help me understand then, beyond being a good communication tool that a building owner wants people to go to your platform instead of five others to use and get their information, what other advantages does your platform bring to the building owners?
Well, again, I think that's driven by what are the outcomes the building operator is looking for. So for example, if they're looking to add secure building access, touchless access into their building community, how do they do that and how do they deliver that to their customer? If they're looking for an improved visitor management process, if they're looking for more data on occupancy and traffic flow, if they're looking for to be able to provide information to their tenants about how various cleaning protocols and systems are being implemented to make sure they feel safe and secure. It's all of the above. We're that tenant facing, that tenant connecting piece, and really bring all of those solutions together in a beautiful, easy to use customer experience. And so again, it's not so much what you do, but it's how do you connect the two parties? How do you connect that building to all of their tenants and make sure that it's understandable, accessible, available, and actually used? Again, we're very focused on engagement. The success of any system such as ours is not, how many buildings we can sell or how fast we can onboard you, but it's how best can we actually have your tenants use the platform, how sticky it is, how much do they love it? And that's what we're really focused on.
So, in your opinion, has digital and prop tech transformed the built environment in Toronto yet?
Again, based on my earlier comment, I really do believe it's early days. It's just the beginning. But it is interesting to note that we're seeing innovation teams emerge within companies, particularly the large companies. We're seeing C-suite positions of leadership being filled with people with technology backgrounds. We're seeing significant investment in PropTech by various corporate and industry players. So, a lot of the large commercial real estate developers, owners, operators are not only investing directly, but they're creating investment vehicles to support PropTech solutions. And we're seeing an incredible amount of commercial real estate programming with conferences and webinars that include PropTech, subject matter. So, really dominating these conferences, dominating these newsletters, dominating these news sources. So, I think the trend is obvious. And I think it will be just interesting to see, the rate of acceleration, the rate of adoption, over the next 6, 12, 24 months.
So let's fast forward. You've often said it's early days, but I'm sure you're a visionary. What does a building look like as it relates to prop tech and digital 5 years from now?
Well, I do think it's going to be a wild ride. I think that no building is going to be left behind. I think that it is going to become table stakes, and therefore every building, no matter their size, no matter their class, are going to be looking at technology. I think it's going to be a major facilitator of the changes that are going to come. I think that we are going through a period of reinvention. So there are going to be new ways to access and utilize space. There are going to be new amenities emerging. I believe Oxford just shared publicly that they've built a new health and well-being facility in one of their downtown Toronto complexes. So again, I think that new amenities are going to emerge, and the ways in which you engage your tenants in those amenities are going to require a technology solution. There are going to be new ways to navigate in and through spaces, to control occupancy, to control, the way in which we use an elevator and so forth. And I think that obviously the new theme of flexibility in commercial real estate, which is, emerging at a very rapid pace, that's going to require technology to, to ultimately bring those solutions to market. Tech-enabled buildings are going to be more common. And so again, often I'll be asked, we're a small building or I only have one building. That's not a reason why you shouldn't be considering, how technology can improve your offering. every building needs to be more competitive in the marketplace, and technology can become an equalizer to actually positioning all buildings, no matter what size or what class, as a valuable partner in that ecosystem.
So where is all the data? Who owns it, and what are they doing with it?
The data definitely is owned by our building partners. I think HILO has a unique opportunity to make more sense of their data and provide a more robust level of data. Again, because we're not just a building app provider where you have a separate app on a per building basis, and therefore you're really only able to aggregate the data from your building. We're able to not only provide building data specific to both a portfolio, a building within a portfolio, or a portfolio on behalf of an operator or manager, we're actually also able to provide more anecdotal data on a neighborhood or a city or on the entire network. And I think that data is going to be hugely valuable for helping to drive insight that will ultimately improve efficiency, improve operations, and again, help make the decision-making process more credible. So we all have our gut feel, our gut thinking, and certainly, the industry experts, knowledge is power, so you can't discount that. But I think we are driving towards more of a data based decision-making economy. And I think our system, again, because it consolidates, aggregates, and brings together data from other solutions that are embedded within our platform, I think that's going to be a huge driver of creating a greater return on investment for property managers and owners.
So having the benefit of being able to have all that data and gain the insight, what behaviors and trends are you starting to recognize right now?
Well, again, I think that goes back to the question of it being early days. So I think that building operators are really looking at certainly data and insight that is going to help them respond to reopening their buildings. So I would say that is probably what is top of mind. How can solutions like ours and others, and then ultimately the information that is gathered help bring people back to the built world. So particularly on the office side, I think making sure that people feel safe, secure, that their well-being is taken care of, is more assured. I think that's going to be what building operators care most about. I think the communication piece is going to be critical again, and just all things around supporting people as they look to the workplace. I think there's no question that they want to come back. I think we do have to remind them of the value and the benefit. And I think that some of the reimagination of the space itself will hopefully be a driver to bringing people back more quickly.
So what would you say to the listeners about the importance of having a digital strategy for their business?
I think that's a really great question. And I think it speaks to the heart of really what we're doing. The digital strategy, or a digital strategy, is not just another checkbox, like, write a document and then it sits on some shelf somewhere. It is really, really key. And the way we look at it is we don't think technology should be looked at just for technology's sake. So instead, we really believe that you need to identify the outcomes that you're attempting to achieve, the objectives that you're setting, and then find the technology solutions that are going to help you deliver on that. So, when we talk to partners about tenant experience, if tenant experience is not a focus of theirs, they're likely not going to be that interested in our platform. Okay. So they need to be really committed to a particular outcome, like they want tenants to be able to have real-time communication and connection. Therefore, they might want to look at a tenant engagement platform like ours. So don't look at it from the perspective of, we're going to offer you real-time notifications. Look at it from the perspective of, we're going to make sure you can talk to us at any time. We're going to make sure that we are accessible to you at any time. Those are outcomes. Features and benefits are not going to be the driver of technology. Desired outcomes will. So we would really encourage building operators to spend a lot of time thinking strategically about the objectives and outcomes they're trying to achieve, and then look for technology solutions that will help them deliver on that. Outcomes will surprise and delight their customers, and then the right tech solutions will ultimately help achieve their goals.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I guess, focus right now on the behavior of people. What about when it comes to a digital strategy? I think a lot of people overlook how important the gathering of data is, and owning the data, and what the data, they may not see it now, but what it could tell them in the future. Do you have those conversations about the importance of data with your clients?
We do, and again, I think those continue to take root and emerge. And I think I didn't fully answer your earlier question about the data. The data really is owned by our partners. We don't use that data, to our own end. We really use that data to help power their decision-making process. So I think that they're all looking for ways in which to gather that data. And one of our future additions to our roadmap is, particularly as we look to build a network and a platform that involves other PropTech solutions, is that how do we aggregate that data? How do we provide a dashboard back to our building partners that takes data from different solutions that are available on one platform, such as HILO, but consolidate it and make it really easy for them to interpret, understand, and take action from. So I think, to your point, the data is great, and I think it's becoming more and more important. But if there are 15 data sources, it's gonna be really hard for building operators to make sense of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure as a property owner or developer, you're overwhelmed with requests for meetings, demonstrations for all the different technology and PropTech solutions out there. But you really need to make a decision and start gathering the data at some point, and data that you've already gathered, what tell you. And I think that might be, and the information that they have that they can't see yet.
Yeah, I think that's, I think in the early days when we first began pitching into commercial real estate, we had the unique perspective of growing up within the commercial real estate industry. So while we, developed a tech solution, we were first real estate people, and then, created a tech platform. I think the commercial real estate industry is being bombarded by various tech solutions, and in many cases, by individuals that don't necessarily have the commercial real estate experience and really understand the industry as fully as someone that has grown up in it. So I think that's also a unique opportunity from a data perspective, is to ensure that we're creating a solution that is going to have meaningful value back to them, and not just pitching them on another idea, another concept, another business, and leaving them later to try to figure out, okay, what do we do with this information? How is it useful? And I think by creating that dashboard that I spoke of earlier, where we can actually help them to interpret, manage, and evaluate that data, I think that again is going to be a perceived value that they can't necessarily get from all the disparate partners that are pitching into them.
Yeah, it's sort of an undiscovered area that I would imagine a lot of developers haven't taken the time to really understand the opportunity in it. And I think those who will be successful in the PropTech space help them understand what that data can actually reveal, and help them predict the outcomes of behavior of, let's say, tenants in a building.
Agreed.
So maybe on to our final question here. What are your final thoughts on the opportunity for our industry that we have right now to utilize digital technologies? What would you tell them?
Well, I think for me, we can't help but talk about COVID and recognize that, COVID from my perspective has been terrible. Personally and professionally, it's certainly been challenging. But that being said, I think we're now well beyond using COVID as an excuse. So what would I tell them? I'd say now is the time that we can start to think differently. Now is the time, to really move forward in our thinking process. So I sum that up by saying now is the time to create better, build better, and be better. So we can't wallow, we can't wish, and I think now is the time to figure out how we're going to build our businesses, run our businesses, in a world where COVID exists. It's not a post-COVID conversation, because COVID is likely, just like SARS, is likely going to be with us for a very long time. but the world will return to some sense of normal. And I think that we need to be ready for that. And I think technology can be a huge driver to enabling us to continue to live in a sustainable, and better, healthier, happier way. So it's certainly not easy to do, but I do believe that we can use technology to wow our customers. That opportunity is in front of us. And the other message that I've conveyed to clients that is starting to really gain some uptake is that now is the time to be on the offense. You know, we're still in many cities, certainly in North America, in a lockdown scenario, but now is the time to turn up and take an offensive position, and plan and dig deep and make decisions and make commitments and prepare. If we wait another 3 months or 6 months, I think we're going to find that we really are behind the 8 ball, and then we're not in a position to respond, and yet we have the demand. So my number one message would be, you know, be on the offense, develop a strategy that is focused on outcomes and not just because everybody else is doing it. Be careful, look at all that the industry is now offering, and look at how you can bring partners together. Disparate solutions, you know, 6 apps, 5 websites, 4 portals is not going to be a solution that your customers are going to be happy with. They're not going to tell you, they're not going to give you the feedback that says you are surprising and delighting them each and every day. So really focusing on what your customer needs and let them help drive your decision-making process.
That's great advice, David. Thank you. And thanks for taking the time to have the interview with us today.
Well, I really appreciated the invitation, the opportunity. I look forward to perhaps continue the conversation. I think 6 months, 12 months from now, you know, I think there's a lot that will still emerge, and I look forward to being a part of that conversation as we go forward. Thank you.
Yeah, I look forward to catching up with you in about a year's time and see how this reality that we're in, and let's see how many people took your advice on being on the offense. That was a great way to end this off. So thank you very much, and thank you from ULI Toronto and joining us on our PropTech webcast.